Hi, my question is, what do you think is one of the greatest mistakes someone can make in approaching someone to be a potential mentor?
While I do have mentors, they don't necessarily know that I've labeled them as mentors. So there comes times when I have like something that I really need to talk to someone about, and I'll call them, and they're ready like in the moment. And maybe they do know that they're being a mentor, but they don't say it that way because they've said, I'm on your level, I'm your colleague, and you know. But so I've heard of instances when people have wanted to approach someone to be a mentor, and that person wasn't available for whatever reason, and the approach that person has decided to take instead is to do the informational, to see if do the informational interview to feel out the vibe and to feel out, you know, that person's willingness to, or not just willingness, but even ability to really be a mentor. Because maybe there's times when you look up to somebody and, you know, on a personal one-on-one level, they maybe aren't there or aren't in the space to be there. So that's what I've heard.
Who asked the question? One of the things that a mistake that a potential mentee can make with a mentor is generally when you're talking to a mentor, someone you've identified as such, he or she is a busy person. And because they can't get with you right then when you want to talk to them, don't be afraid to come back again and say, however you can couch the request of when you have time, I really need to talk to you, I would like to talk to you, because mentors forget. They have many times so many other things on their plate, and it's not that they don't want to help you or they don't want to be with you, they just have a lot going on, so don't be afraid to ask again and again, and eventually the connection will be made.
Amen. Because I've been on the other end. So yeah, don't be afraid to come back and ask. I will also say, I've been on the receiving end of a request, and it was more of a request for a job. It was sort of couched in being a mentor, and that just felt wrong, right? You know, it just felt wrong, and I really wanted to help, but I didn't feel equipped to be able to give this person a job. But I wanted to be able to see how my experience could be helpful to her, and so I guess just be clear. You know, you can do an informational interview and say, you know, I'm really interested in working in this field, or even working here. If you have an opportunity, you know, would you let me know, or can I keep in touch with you? That's great, you know. And if you're the right fit, I certainly want you to be in touch with me regularly, because you never know what opportunity will come up. But I guess just be clear about what it is that you really are going for, and be honest about it. I would also, just piggybacking on what Lizette said, I found initially being asked to be a mentor a little intimidating, you know, and so I'd almost rather, you know, say, you know, I'm in this field. Can we just get together a couple times, and you know, because I just would love some advice and talk about your experience. That's somehow a lot easier for me than say, would you be my mentor? I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I could be your mentor because I'm not even sure what the expectations are. But I know if you need advice and you want to talk about job and the field and how I've learned things or how I can help you, I'm totally open to that. So sometimes that can be a little off-putting, you know, for me at least.
No.
My name is Kat, and my company is Los Sosa Productions. I manage artists from time to time and do a lot of branding. But I wanted to find out from all of you, how do you filter? How do you decide who is a good fit in terms of mentoring? Right. So someone comes to you, and you're like, I don't know. How do you decide maybe either when to cut someone off or when it's just not a good fit?
Because I really, yeah, the only time that I've mentored anyone has been through internships when they interned with me. And, you know, if I hired them as an intern, that means that, you know, I have to be there as a mentor. Anyway, I just said that because I'm giving y'all time to think.
I will always be in serious conversation with the person, and I'm very raw in my conversation. I don't sugarcoat anything.
Very true.
And so with that interaction, I can tell if the person can take what it is I have to say or not. And if they can, and if they can give it back to me, I know it's a good fit. And sometimes younger people are more shy and reserved, so I'll pull it out of them. If it turns out really not to be a good fit, I don't want the relationship to stop, but I will make an effort to find someone for them that I think would be a better fit, so that they don't leave me ever empty-handed, ever.
I guess maybe one comment I wanted to make, the two people that I've been talking about, one of the things I really value out of them and get out of them is that they, in a lot of ways, their personalities and their working styles and how they learn are very similar to mine. And that's actually something that's really important to me. And I know that about myself. That doesn't mean that I don't get something out of other people, right? I feel like we kind of picture mentor as this hard line, right? Like if you're above it, you're the mentor, and if you're below it, you're not. But that's actually not true. There's a lot of things that you can get out of a lot of people who maybe don't kind of fill that specific role or that kind of deep relationship that you're looking for.
You know, I was gonna say it's fit in terms of how you orient yourself in the world, how do you learn. But I've actually met and talked with and received valuable experience from people that are very different from me, and that's been even more valuable, right? Because their perspective on the way that they problem solve or the way that they approach a problem is not something I'd ever considered, and so that makes me even a better person. So I guess, so that's my point. I just think that it's important that sometimes people that are quite different might be helpful to you or you to them, because that's a perspective that they wouldn't provide.
When you walk in the park.
I can do it the next one. Hi, so I'm Mirandi, and I'm actually a lawyer, so I'm not in the arts world at all. But I recently worked with Lisa on a program that was a community event, and I think it was really wonderful. It was a cultural and artistic event, and I think it's a perfect example of the way that you are an entrepreneur, because you do a lot of great work through the University of Maryland, your 9-to-5 job, but in this instance, you went outside of the institution to create something for the community. And even then, like an example is we worked with a vendor who made tamales for us, right? And so she came and sold them at the event, and that was it. But then there, Lisa started talking to her and found out that this lady actually does arts and crafts, and she loves this. And so Lisa is trying to help her find a venue where she can host these workshops for the community. And so I think it's really great, because it's not only that you are doing this type of work, but you're also making the connections and making sure that things are accessible to the community. So I'll let you talk more about that, but I was wondering if you could tell us just how you went about planning that event, and if there's anything that you learned that you'd like to share.
Well, thank you, Anandi. I guess at the core of anything that I've done is really because I care about because I care about it and I'm passionate about it. What I learned from doing that project is that there's a huge need in DC for more of this work of making the arts and culture a lot more accessible and open to the local communities. One of the things that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned here, and I don't know exactly how it relates, but there's a book that was written by Donna Walker-Kuhn that's called Invitation to the Party.
Very good.
And that book has really been a tool for me in the work that I've done. And I guess to touch back to this whole entrepreneurial thing, there's sometimes when you're working with an organization or with an institution, there aren't a lot of resources available to or dedicated to doing some of the work. So then collaborations and partnerships are also important, and finding spaces or people that you work with that you can work with to create the work that you want to do is also important, because you provide support for each other. But I guess the other thing that I got out of it is that, that lawyers are really creative people.
Think outside the box. In being with a mentor, they show you the way in terms of how your professional career should go, but then there's also your own quality of life. And so a mentor can also be very helpful in terms of saying to you, maybe you just need to go home. The work that's on your desk will be there tomorrow. Right, exactly. And so I just wanted to share that that's something when I was looking for, and I still look for mentors, that is very important to me. Someone who also recognizes the importance of the work and the growth of you as an individual and as a professional, but also says to you, it's okay, you can go home, or that'll be there, or maybe that's not the place for you because you're better spiritually, mentally, physically, someplace else. So that's another thing that I found very important with a lot of relationships, is how they also impress upon you your quality of life.
Hi. One of my questions actually kind of relates to what Desiree was saying earlier about climbing the ladder or moving to a different part of the ladder, just stepping on or just getting off the ladders and just being on the ground floor. I would say just kind of just within the whole arts administrative field, at what point do you decide to maybe step down off the ladder or switch over to ladder, or just kind of be on the ground floor in terms of just kind of evaluating your positioning in the field?
When I switched from engineering to the arts, that was my decision to get off of that ladder. It was clear to me I needed to follow my passion, and I had nothing holding me back at that point, so I had nothing to lose. So sometimes it'll just be so clear to you that you'll know what move to make. Other times you need to be cognizant of things going on around you and in the community and with other people, that you might want to take a risk to try something else or step back and say, all right, what didn't work for me with this move? What did work for me? And every move that you make is an important step in your growth, in your career, and in your life. Nothing is a mistake. Everything that you do, I think I said before, is the stepping stone to the next thing. You just have to figure out how it circuitously gets you to where it is you want to go. But knowing when to step off, knowing when to do something, trust your gut. Always trust your gut. It's never wrong. And even if it's not the thing you were ultimately supposed to do, there was a lesson in it that you needed to learn. So trust your gut. Don't be afraid of that.
And thank you so much, ladies. That really did touch my spirit. That last comment, thank you so much. We're going to stop here, and please, by all means, if you do have more questions, feel free to come up to the ladies after our panel discussion. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, ladies, just quickly to wrap it up, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today to support this creative conversation and making an opportunity for you all to connect with each other. I'm excited about the energy in the room, and I just have a few words before we close it out. First, I want to thank my awesome planning committee, Ms. Jessica Solomon and Jennifer Bowman. Jennifer has led this whole initiative to bring this conversation to light. She came to me with the idea. We worked tirelessly, all three of us, coming up with the content and just making this possible. We couldn't have done it without you. Jessica. She designed our flyer and introduced us to Live Unchained, who's helped promote the event. So I just have small tokens, my appreciation. I think you all are golden, so have a little golden bear. Here you go. Thank you. Thank you. And one for Miss Jessica. And it's actually chocolate. It's chocolate. So if you don't like chocolate, just look at it in the golden paper. So, huh? I have one for her too. Yes, Bianca Monet was also our volunteer. She greeted you at the desk when you came in. She is a Kennedy Center Fellow, and they have a lot of events going on today, so she's back to work like we do. We just keep going, right? So I also wanted to acknowledge Kaisha Johnson, our co-founder. She and I work hand in hand in bringing all of these programs to light for WOCA. She lives in New York and is actually teaching a class today, so thank you, Kaisha. For the people on the live stream, we're acknowledging Kaisha as well, and look forward to speaking with her. We had a great call last night about what's to come, so acknowledging Kaisha. And then, of course, our panel and our moderator. I have just little tokens to say thank you. Angela, thank you so much. Lizette, thank you. Krista, who's one of my mentors. Thank you. And I just have to just add a little. Krista was at the very first, I'm not going to talk too long, but I just have to say this. Krista was at the very first WOCA gathering when it was only 20 people in the room. We now have at least 200 people connected to this network. Krista's on our WOCA Advisory Council, so we appreciate everything that you offer. Desiree, who's also a mentor. I remember I told Desiree when I was at her home, because like she said, she brings you to our house. I was like, Desiree, I really want to start something. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's going to be big. She's like, let me know. I'm involved. And that's all it was. This was like in Colonial Beach, 2008, we were talking about this. So, yeah. And then lastly, Kiana, for moderating this session. Thank you. Then I want to acknowledge and recognize people that you may not have seen sitting here, but have been helping to support this initiative and this session from the beginning, and that is Catherine Buford with Live Unchained. Thank you so much for your promotion of this event and live tweeting. Ralston Smith, who is taking footage for us to make this available in the video camera, and Eddie Smith, who made the Ustream possible. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, then lastly, just a few more thank yous, and then I'll just share some upcoming events. For Cultural DC and Source, who made this space available for us to have this session free. Hey, you know, the conversation, the relationships that the women mentioned here are important. I called Kara Pompino, who I worked with at Step Africa, and was like, Kara, you know, what? And she was like, well, let's see what we can do. So then she brought Amanda Barber and Robert Gandy. Robert was in our sound, to make this possible. So it's the power of relationships. And then finally, just sharing some of our upcoming WOCA events. As you know, WOCA is a national, actually international organization. We have members in Brazil and Colombia and the Netherlands. Is there one more? In Virgin Islands. And so every year we meet in January as part of the Association of Performing Arts Presenters, or APAP's, national conference to have our annual membership meeting. This year's meeting will take place, let's see, Sunday, January 13th from 8 to 9 a.m. If you're on our mailing list, we'll share more details, but I just wanted to keep you posted. That is where members from all over the nation come together, hear what we've done over the year, talk about upcoming agenda items, and look at lessons learned, because it's important to see what you did well, what you didn't do well, how you can grow. So that's where we'll do that. It is in, New York, at the Hilton, New York, on 54th Street. But just make sure you save the date, and if you're able, it's on a weekend, so you could just drive up. You don't have to be registered for the conference, and we usually have a post-networking breakfast, so that's where more engagement takes place. We're also proud to announce that WOCA has been accepted and to present a professional development session as a part of the conference. So in addition to having our networking breakfast, we'll also be talking about cultural democracy and community curation. So that's going to be really exciting when we have some of our members that live up north and even in the south participating in that panel. That will be Saturday, January 12th, from 3 to 4:30. I think that's open to the public as well. And then finally, we will have an event next March in New York at the Apollo Theater entitled Behind the Scenes, Women of Color in the Arts, where we'll be exploring what it's like to be behind the scenes to make the arts come to the stage. So, with that said, thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. I have my cards out on the table, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and happy networking. Yay. Thank you.